Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. Thank you for being here with me, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm sorry for any delay, but hopefully we get this thing going. We're going to talk coaching candidates once again, ladies and gentlemen, and I know I see some of you guys in the chat already say, hey, that's not Kenny Smith, that's Jerry Stackhouse. You're right, that is Jerry Stackhouse. I decided to switch it up from Kenny Smith and instead include Jerry Stackhouse. You know, just something I decided to do. I don't know. You know what I mean? But we're going to talk about these guys and see if these guys would be a good fit for the New York Knicks as I get myself in focus. You know, and have some good conversations about these guys. I'm sure sooner or later we'll get a chat build up. We'll give you guys a chance to call in and, you know, give your opinions. The number is 516-405-2246. And excuse me for freezing up on the screen. I had to get a couple of things adjusted. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get this thing popping. All right, and here we go. We got Big Freezy joining us in the chat. We'll see who else is going to join us. The first person we're going to talk about is Kenny Atkinson, though, folks. We're going to talk about Kenny. Kenny Atkinson is a lot of people's choice. He's actually my choice. I admire some of the things that he did in Brooklyn, although when he took over Brooklyn, you know, it wasn't like he just automatically catapulted them to the top. It was a process. Let's just say that. It was a process. And he took them from a losing record. They built a winning record. And then obviously this year, you know, got cut short. But they're in the playoff race. Well, he's not the coach any longer. They're in the playoff race. Let me talk to my man Big Freezy, and then we'll go ahead and get this thing started. All right, let me get my man unmuted. Freezy, what's popping with you, brother? How you feeling?
Hey, I'm good, boss man. How you doing?
I'm feeling pretty good, man. Feeling pretty good.
Good.
Yeah, you know, we're gonna talk about these coaching candidates tonight. I don't know if you have a preference, but you know, we're gonna get into it and hopefully have a good discussion. Obviously, all of the talk right now is about Tom Thibodeau.
Right.
That's where all the talk is right now. Tom Thibodeau. Will Tom Thibodeau become the coach of the Knicks? He was on Sports Center or whatever earlier today.
Right.
You know, and he didn't really give any insight as to whether or not, you know, if he's considering the Knicks or the Rockets or
the Nets.
Or the Nets. You know.
Right.
And I put out a video earlier today asking the question, would he choose the Knicks over the Rockets or the Nets? Do you think? What do you think?
I think so, man. So for the record, just so that I'll be on record with my choice.
Okay.
I think I told you before I like Lionel Hollins, right? But I don't think he's, you know, even in consideration. I like the Tom Thibodeau thing. It at least gets us into you know, some type of respectability where big name coaches would at least consider coming to the Knicks. You know what I'm saying? I'm fine with either Thibodeau or Kenny Atkinson. I just don't. Kenny Atkinson just doesn't impress us with his in-game management. Would at least consider coming to the Knicks. You know, I would say I prefer Kenny Atkinson over Thibodeau just because of how he resurrects point guard projects. And I think we probably have one of the most physically gifted point guards in the NBA in Dennis Smith Jr. And if we can get Kenny Atkinson to resurrect him and or Frank, or I think that'll do wonders for our franchise in terms of positioning, in terms of getting us to that place that we want to be, meaning winning championships.
Yeah. See, my thing with Kenny is that I feel like he is, I don't want to say it. I feel like Kenny Atkinson is what the Knicks need right now. And let me go over just a few things about Kenny Atkinson before we get into it. All right, before we get too deep into it.
Right.
And it's not a lot, just a little bit of his coaching experience. He's been coaching for 11 seasons in the NBA, 7 as an assistant coach with the New York Knicks and the Atlanta Hawks, 4 as a head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. His career record is 118 and 90. So it's not like he has this major winning record. All right, that's his career record, 118 and 190. Although, he was coaching a bad team in the Brooklyn Nets, and he turned it around.
Right.
All right. Obviously he had some trouble with Kyrie Irving. Right. Kyrie's clearly not a fan of Kenny Atkinson. Right. Kyrie Irving basically ran him out of town.
Basically.
Right. He basically ran him out of town. I don't know. I like the systems that he seemed to implement in Brooklyn. I read a lot about Kenny Atkinson and the system, the college style system. And I'm not talking about playing on the floor. I'm talking about the developmental aspect of the system, the behind the scenes stuff, the tight schedules that the players were on to make sure that they were on schedule with their development. The things that they put in place to help players get better, right? I was a fan of those things, and I think that's what this young team needs, that style.
Right.
And that's why I'm such a fan of Kenny Atkinson, because I believe that he can bring that style of coaching to the team, one that really does set up an entire program, not just an offensive system and defensive schemes, but an entire program from top to bottom.
Right.
That's what impresses me about Kenny Atkinson. How about you, Ty?
Everybody tonight. Hope all y'all are doing good. I'm right there with you, Sim. Honestly, I'm an Atkinson fan. I think out of all of the viable coaching candidates, I think he has the best pedigree. I also have trepidations about candidates such as Thibodeau, for instance. Even though Thibodeau may have the bones, he's got a track record of burning out his teams. And that gives me pause when I think about our young ball players that are still badly in need of development, like Ntilikina, for instance. I'm worrying about, Thibodeau running him into a bunch of groin injuries. I'm not keen about his track record in developing youngsters, even though he can handle the vets. But we have a young team, and I think Atkinson is a better coaching candidate for the youngsters. He's shown a better track record of development with young up-and-coming ball players.
Yeah, and I think that let me ask you this, though, about Kenny Atkinson. Do you think that there would be an issue? It's without a doubt that the Knicks are going to try to get a star, right? There's no doubt about it. The way that I see, I would like to. I'm hoping that we can, try to develop our own stars. But do you think Kenny Atkinson, because of his regimented style of coaching, on the court and off the court, do you think it scares stars away?
No, honestly, I don't think that that's such a bad thing. I mean, when KD and Kyrie went to Brooklyn, they knew that Atkinson was going to be the coach, and they went there nevertheless. I think Atkinson brings a good balance of iron fist within a velvet glove when it comes to dealing with the ball players. I think he's regimented enough that they will respect him, but I still think that he's flexible enough that he can still run his own program. I mean, I like, honestly, what Mike Miller did as an interim coach, but I think some of his decisions as regards to the minutes that he gave the ball players might have been predicated by what was in his ear coming from upstairs. I'm hoping that they'll bring in a young coach like Atkinson and give him free rein to run the program as he sees fit. And I think he's the best candidate to do that.
Okay. All right. I mean, I obviously I agree with you. You know, I'm a big fan of the guy, and I did see, you know, Mark in the chat say, you know, Kenny Atkinson had one good season with the Nets, and you're right, but he only coached 3. You know, he only coached 3 seasons, and you know they were rebuilding. I don't know what else you expect. You know what I'm saying?
And they had major injuries.
Right, but you know they're rebuilding. They and then he got fired this season. You know, look, their record wasn't spectacular this season.
No, but he still got a raw deal.
But you know, I think he got a rough deal, and yeah, I agree. I think he got a rough deal, and you know, the whole thing with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. I mean, you would think that any coach wants that. I think that's going to end up being the question as to whether or not, you know, he can coach stars. You know, after what happened with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, and we don't know everything that happened on the inside, but I think that might end up being a question about him and his coaching career. He's going to coach again. I can guarantee that. He is going to coach again. I would think that he's going to coach again next year. Isaiah, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on? So you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Tell me, what's your thought? What's your thought process on Kenny Atkinson?
My thought process on Kenny Atkinson is that I think he is the guy for the job. That is my number one candidate. I think people got to understand the context in which Kenny Atkinson was dealing with. First of all, he had to deal with a roster that was by far one of the worst rosters you can imagine because of one of the worst trades that ever happened in NBA history. People have to remember that he got the scraps of that disaster trade that, you know, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and all those guys came over here, and then the Nets basically traded away their future. And Kenny had to coach that, and then within 3 years he was a playoff team. I mean, what more do you want from a guy that's developed a young talent? He had people. See, it's so crazy somehow people just don't remember. D'Angelo Russell was on his way. I won't say out the league, but he was bad apples. You know, basically based on what happened with him and Nick Young. You know, people didn't know what to do with him. People, you know, I think a lot of teams didn't want him. And look what he did. Look what Kenny Atkinson did for D'Angelo Russell. So I think, you know, for some people that don't believe in him, man, I think his track record proves to himself that he's a winner, he's a developer, and I believe in him. The proof is in the pudding. Look what he did with the Nets. I mean, surely he was getting them better each year. Every year he was getting better. He had an All-Star and he made the playoffs. So,
right. Okay. So he took over. Guy. Kenny Atkinson took over. When he took over, he took over in 16-17. And this was his roster in 16-17. He had Quincy Acey, Anthony Bennett, Bohan Bogdanovich, Trevor Booker, Spencer Dinwiddie, Yogi Ferrell, Randy Foye, Archie Goodwin, Justin Hamilton, Joe Harris, Rondé Hollis Jefferson, Sean Kilpatrick, Karis LeVert. Now remember, you know, Karis LeVert was a rookie. Jeremy Lin, Brooke Lopez, Chris McCullough, KG McDaniels, Andrew Nicholson, Luis Scola, Grievous Vasquez, and Isaiah Whitehead. That was his team when he took over in 2016, 2017. They finished the season 20-62. The next season.
And they should have with that roster.
No? Okay. Yeah. The next season, they were 28-54. All right. For the most part, they had the same roster, but they added D'Angelo Russell. Okay. Again, Quincy Acey, Jarrett Allen. They added Jarrett Allen. He was a rookie. Trevor Booker. They added DeMarre Carroll. They picked up Alan Crabb. They had Dante Cunningham, Spencer Dinwiddie, Milton Doyle, Joe Harris, Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, Sean Kilpatrick, Karis LeVert, Jeremy Lin, Timothy Mozgov, Jahlil Okafor. They ended up getting Jahlil Okafor that season, although Jahlil Okafor, I don't believe that Jahlil Okafor played much.
Was not a factor.
He was not, right. He did not play much in that season. Okay. D'Angelo Russell, Nick Stauskas, Rashad Vaughn, James Webb, Isaiah Whitehead, Jacob Wiley, and Tyler Zeller. And they ended that season 17 and 18. They ended it 28-54. Then the next season, they ended the season 42-40. In their roster, they had a lot of the same players on the roster. They added some players, but they had a lot of the same players. Jarrett Allen, DeMarre Carroll, Alan Crabb, Spencer Dinwiddie. They added Kenny Fareed.
Hey, Sim.
Right, they had Karis LeVert. They had D'Angelo Russell. A lot of the same guys were playing. That's growth. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, man, look, and if people want to just talk about, his one claim to fame was D'Angelo Russell, what some people have said. Hey, man, look at Joe Harris. Joe Harris, started off with the Cavs or something like that. Spencer Dinwiddie started off with the Pistons, I believe. These are all guys that were throwaways, man. A lot of these guys were throwaways.
Nah, his
raw
number one claim to fame is Jeremy Lin. His claim to fame is Jeremy Lin. Remember, he was an assistant coach with the Knicks, and he resurrected Jeremy Lin and created Linsanity. That's his claim to fame.
Yeah, definitely. But again, I just think a lot of. I personally hope that Leon Rose, man, is just. The minute he got fired, I hope he called him and said, "Hey, come to the Knicks. You don't got to move. That's a big thing too. You don't have to move." I just love his track. His track record speaks for himself. It's just and again, no to Mark Jackson, no to these other guys. Let's get a guy that's going to truly develop. He talks the talk, he walks the walk. Let's just get this guy, man. To me, this is one of the most no-brainer moves for the Knicks to do. Just get this guy.
All right. Well, let's hear from Mark, because Mark's not a. I'm not going to say Mark's not a fan. I'm not going to say Mark's not a fan, but I think Mark is a Tom Thibodeau guy. And he would prefer Tom Thibodeau. So let's see. Let's talk to Mark. Mark, what's going on, man?
What's going on, boss?
Talk to me.
Listen, man. I know everybody's excited about Kenny Atkinson, what he did for the Brooklyn Nets. Cool, right? You're talking about track record, right? Why wouldn't you want to coach in Tom Thibodeau had track record in developing players and getting his players so nearly overachieve in most of the season due to their current roster and their injured star players, but still had that team playing against Miami Heat at the time, right there with them. Not a team that Miami could have even blown out with D-Wade, Bosh, and Chris Bosh. What are we talking about here? This guy only had one bad season in the last how many years of coaching?
Yeah, you mean one good season. But you gotta take it. I think you gotta look at it. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about Tom Thibodeau. Tom
Thibodeau.
He only had one lose. No, was it one lose season? I don't know. This was going to be his first losing season if he didn't get fired from the Wolves. But look at that track record and look at the players. Speak for Noah. He made Noah into a top 5 MVP caliber type of player one year. No one's seen that coming from Noah. No one's seen that. he developed Cal Corver into a better defender when he got there. He turned Jimmy Butler into an all-star, which was I think a late first round pick. No one saw that in Jimmy Butler coming out of Michigan. He had Derrick Rose almost took the first year, almost took down the Boston Celtics when they had KG, Ray Allen, Perkins, and Rondo and Allen. He just comes prepared to me, man, and he has schemes.
All right. But let me ask you. Let me ask you though. Is he the kind of coach? Is he the kind of coach that needs a roster that's ready?
No. Let me ask you, how can you say that when Derrick Rose came in, that was someone that just came in? A lot of it, if you go look at his rosters, they was all young players. They was all young players, man.
Yep.
They was all young players. When Tom Thibodeau got that job, it was all young players. And then he brought in a lot of third string guards, talking about the Nate Robinsons.
So when Tom Thibodeau took over,
yeah.
Right? When Tom Thibodeau took over, he was 60 and 22 in his 62 and 20 in his first season. All right. He had players on his team. CJ Watson in the league 3 years. Kurt Thomas in the league 15. Brian Scalabrine in the league 9 years. Derrick Rose had been in the league. Hold up. Derrick Rose had been in the league 2 years. Joakim Noah had been in the league 3 years. Who else were guys who were actually playing? Taj Gibson, he was in the league for 1 year. Luol Deng was in the league for 6 years. Carlos Boozer had been in the league for 8 years.
He became a bum when he got there.
I mean, he had some guys, he had some.
Yeah, but for the
previous season, they were coached by Vinny Del Negro. They were 41 and 41.
And for them to jump up how many games to 60 wins, no one's seen that. That's coaching, man.
And they went up to, they won 62 games the next season. Vinny Del Negro had those guys playing at 500.
Let me ask you a question,
for about 2 seasons. But they added some power.
Okay, what year was that?
They did add some power when he came in.
Okay, what year was that when what year is that when he came in? Was that 2011 when Derrick Rose got MVP?
Derrick Rose may have gotten MVP in.
All right, if you go look at that roster right
2011.
That was not a healthy roster, and that was one of the reasons why he won MVP. If you go look at that roster and look at the games that most of the main players and who was injured on that team, that was one of the reasons why Derrick Rose had got MVP over LeBron James. Because that year LeBron James also had a great MVP year. And because Derrick Rose went on such a tear that year, because of injured players going in and out, he never played with that full roster on that Bulls team when Tom Thibodeau arrived with Derrick Rose and that squad.
But here's what I'm asking though. I mean, Derrick Rose had been in the league for 2 years. He was a star.
No, he was a star.
Okay, he was a superstar. He wasn't just a star. He was a superstar.
He became a superstar that following year. It was that following year he became a superstar.
I don't know, man. I think either way, he was killing. Okay,
he was coming. But
right, he was killing.
That year he took it to the next level.
But there's a lot of vets on that team.
Yeah, just go look at the injury list, and then you come back.
I know, I get that, I understand it, but there's still a lot of vets that could help. I mean, they had a team that had been together for some players that had been together for a few years. He came in, he took them over, he took them to the next level. We're talking about a team that is basically starting from scratch. That team was not starting from scratch.
Wait, Dinwiddie wasn't starting from scratch. When did he get him? Because Dinwiddie was good in Detroit when he got traded to Brooklyn.
Bro, Kenny Atkinson started from almost scratch, man. I mean, he started from, those guys were terrible. That team was terrible. He helped build them to be a 42-40 team. You can't deny that.
So, wait,
you can't deny that.
Okay, but I'm going to take the coach with the better track record and the one that developed players into future all-stars all NBA type players,
Well,
which he had.
I get it.
Thibodeau
I get it.
didn't
I
have a lot of
understand that.
developing that he needed to do.
What do you
That's
mean?
what I'm saying.
I'm telling you, you think about, okay, take Rose. Rose was killing when he came out of Memphis. You take Noah. Noah played on NCAA championship teams down with the Florida Gators. Those
no
were no
one's seen
slouches
Noah-
coming in.
No
Two
one's seen
titles at
Noah
that.
like this, bro. No one.
I
no
watched,
one thought,
I watched
no,
Noah
bro.
all the time he was down at Florida with all of those boys down there.
Andrew,
Noah
he was
could
a top
play.
5 MVP candidate. No one's seen that. No one seen.
I'm just going to your point
Yeah.
that Thibodeau didn't have a lot of developing that he needed to do with those ball players like the Knicks. The Knicks need a lot of development of their kids.
So you're telling me the way he squeezed Jimmy Butler into an All-Star, you think he can't do that with Kevin Knox or any of these young players? Just Jimmy
Not Knox. Knox got a
What do you
different
mean?
motor. His motor's slow.
Yeah, everyone's not Jimmy
Hold
Butler.
on. Yeah, but he gave him the opportunity. He gave him the opportunity.
But Butler,
it's always at the,
Butler's self-driven.
Butler has a different work ethic than Kevin Knox.
Definitely.
You know, or a different motor than Kevin Knox. I mean, look, that's the big knock on Kevin Knox. You know what I'm saying? Like, Butler just has a little something different, you know, just a little bit more drive. You know, you're looking at his background and his history and stuff like that. He has a little bit more drive. What happened in Minnesota? How come he didn't turn those guys into it then?
what?
Right.
Turn into what? Wiggins improved that year. Go
Right.
look it up. Go look up his numbers.
I mean,
Wiggins, well, hold on. You just said something. If you go
I
look
get
at that
it. I
following
get it.
year,
Go ahead.
Wiggins improved. Hold on. No, I'm not talking about this following year. I'm talking about the year when he got them. The first year when he came in, Wiggins improved. Towns became an All-NBA player. Yes.
So listen,
look.
I'm not discounting. Well, first of
No,
all,
man.
Towns was almost
Wiggins didn't
Towns was like close
Oh,
to
God.
Towns was coming
what we
in.
doing now?
Towns was there.
Towns
We
was on the
can't-
verge.
You
why
can't
did
say
they go-
that.
wait,
But
why
but
didn't
how
they
do
go
you
to the
know?
playoffs?
Just let me ask you a
Wait,
question. Let me ask you a question.
Why didn't they go to the playoffs that year before Thibodeau came? I'm just asking.
Wiggins didn't improve.
I don't know. I can't. You know, they were young. I'm not saying that Tom Thibodeau didn't have an impact on them. I'm not
He made them a
saying
top
that.
five-
But
he
listen
made them a
to
top
what I'm
5
saying, Mark.
offense.
Mark, listen. I'm not saying that they didn't have an impact on. He didn't have an impact on them, right? What I'm asking you is, I mean, if he's such a guy that can develop these young players,
Okay.
then he should have been able to do it with them as well. I'm not saying he did anything wrong. I don't know everything that's happened,
I just
you
want to know which
with the
players
team
he,
and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, you can say, we can always look at any player, any coach that
Yeah.
comes in. RJ Barrett's going to take a step next year. I don't care what
think
anyone
he will-
says.
I think he
Hold
will
up,
match
listen.
RJ's energy.
Listen. RJ Barrett's going
Oh.
to take a step next year. No matter what, he's going to take a step. Any coach could come in and people are going to say, oh, that coach helped RJ Barrett to take a step. But probably any coach that comes in,
Right.
RJ Barrett is going to take another step. You know what I'm
All right, so
saying?
can I ask you one question? Wait, number one, before I ask you a question, why is Jerry Stackhouse on this list? Why? Someone tell me.
Because I think Jay Stackhouse is going to be a good coach one day. That's why. I think he's going to be a good coach. I think he has the ingredients to be a good coach.
Okay,
Hey,
cool.
I
He can
had
stay-
Kenny Smith. I took Kenny Smith off. I had Kenny Smith on the list.
Yeah,
I don't think
take
he's
him
going to be a
off.
good coach. I don't know if he's going to be a good coach. I just had him on
Take
the
him-
list. You know, as
Hey,
something
Mark,
to
at
think
least
about.
you didn't put
I'm not
Becky
mad-
Hammond
look,
on the
look.
list.
I wouldn't be mad if we got Kenny Atkinson. I'm not saying that.
I know that. I know that.
We're talking about track record here, and I just feel like Tom Thibodeau will match my best player's energy, will put him in situations. Because if you go watch Tom Thibodeau, when he just watch his coaching style, when he's putting certain players that has lack of, like, couldn't do everything on the floor, but were very limited, he put his players into position. It might not look good because the lack of offense that type of a player has. And you seen this couple of seasons when Derrick Rose is out and they was running the offense through Noah. I think he knows how to put players in the positions to be good. And he's shown me year after year after year after year since he's been coaching.
Okay.
And for people to think that
No, man, he didn't do that in Minnesota. My man had two number one picks in Minnesota. He had Andrew Wiggins was the number one pick in the draft. Paul Anthony Towns was the number one pick in the draft.
He said,
and he didn't take that talent and bring them to a 51 team.
Short memory when it comes to that Bull roster and how many injuries at key points that team had.
All right.
Mark, I hear what you're saying, but I don't agree with you simply from the standpoint of if you got RJ Barrett on your roster, it's not going to take a lot of coaching to get him to take a jump next year. Mitchell Robinson, it's not going to take a lot to get him to improve. The question is what happens with the development of your ball players like Dotson, like Tria, like Ntilikina, and that is what sets apart the two coaching.
So let me come back to you. Let me come back to you with that. So you know how the Knicks, you watch some of these games, and Mike Miller, the young guys will go out and do their thing, or probably get us a lead and play good basketball, ball moving, et cetera, et cetera. And then all of a sudden he pulls them out. Tom Thibodeau is the type of coach, when he got that one player that's growing into consistency, he keeps them on the floor. And then he will have a track record of constantly playing them to a point where he gets them to be what that player wants to be. Have you seen the time he put Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy Butler went on the floor? No one's seen this. No one heard of Jimmy Butler. No one heard of Jimmy Butler coming out of Michigan. When Jimmy Butler was showing a level of consistency, that's where the confidence comes from. Because now Tom Thibodeau is giving that young player that a lot of these Knicks coaches we had in the back never gave our young players to stay on the court. Let them make mistakes and stay on the court. And that's what we continue to keep complaining about every year when we see a stretch from these young guys doing it. Why they not playing? Why they not playing?
I hear what you're saying, Mark, but it's a fine line between giving them enough time so that they develop confidence and giving them so much time that their hamstrings pop like piano wire.
Yeah, but let me ask you a question. We ring that off, right? We ring that off. What player did he essentially burned out that didn't have injuries before he got there? Or didn't have injuries prior to him being there? And if you go look at their minutes, you will change your mind about that, because I don't understand where that come from. Because he even talked about it too again.
I do have to agree with Mark there. I went and I looked back at some of these guys' minutes.
Come on.
And they weren't egregious. I mean, Luol Deng had some seasons where he played 39 minutes a night, 38 minutes a night. But the other guys, they were kind of 31, 32, in that range. Now, someone did point out the practices also, not just the game time, but the practices.
Yeah. Okay, so he came on First Take today, and he asked him about that. And he said he did change his ways about that with the vets and the young guys. He changed. He exactly said. So he's changed his ways. I haven't heard Timberwolves complain about practices. I haven't heard that.
That was a public job interview, Mark.
What do you mean that's a public job interview?
I'm saying he's going on ESPN, and essentially he's speaking to all of the prospective employers and telling them what they want to hear. Wouldn't you do that if you were in a job interview?
Yeah, but to a certain extent, what do you want him to say? Like he hasn't changed his ways?
I would prefer if he would have said something along the lines of he acknowledges that
that's what he did, Morris. He acknowledged it, and when he came to the Timberwolves, he changed a lot of his coaching in the practice. He talked about it.
I heard the interview as well, and as I said, there were a couple of questions that they put to him directly. Stephen A. put one to him that he didn't quite answer. Max threw another one at him, both speaking about any adjustments that he would make between his previous stops and any potential jobs that he made. And essentially what he said, if you read between the lines, is that he feels like he's got the spurs that he can coach his own style and be effective with it.
Yeah, so let me ask you a question. If he can he also coach his own style but still handle the players a little differently, but there is a coaching style that he has? That could be anything. That could be how where he want players to be, how they play defense on the floor. It could be so many things.
I agree with that, but I think
so many things.
I hear what you're saying, but at the end of the day, I think when people are put in pressure situations, they fall back into their comfort zone, and his comfort zone is to practice his guys hard and to play them hard in games. So he can talk good talk about modifying his style when it comes to playing them, coaching them, practicing them. But I'm telling you, if he gets in the heat of a playoff run or if they're in contention, he's going to drive them like their secretariat in the stretch at the Belmont Stakes.
Secretariat. Okay.
I understand you, Morris. I understand you, but you're talking about any playoff game where you're going against a certain team and you have to go all out, just like what Golden State did with the Houston Rockets this coming. That's why Kevin Durant kind of got injured, because if you go look in their minutes, they logged in for nearly 38 plus, and Steve Kerr never do that. So
Agreed.
Sometimes when you get into the nitty gritty and you have to win games, there's going to be games where players are going to play above their minutes. That just comes with the game.
Well, that's going to happen.
Go ahead, Sam. I'll let you respond to that, because my take on that is that
I think
Thibodeau's going to coach the same style regardless of whether it's game 2 or whether it's game 82. Yeah. And you're going to have them playing hard. They're going to be playing defensively. They're going to improve defensively because he's going to get them to play hard on both ends. But I think over the course of a season, that's a lot of wear and tear on the bodies.
Yeah, and I agree that I think Tom Thibodeau is going to coach his style no matter what. When it comes down to it, I think it's in you. If it's in you, it's in you, I think. You know what I mean? Now, Andrew, go ahead, man. Yeah. And then I'm going to get to Jeff Van Gundy. But go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, what I wanted to say about Kenny Atkinson, right? Because when you was talking about, like, you're not sure he could coach stars. Wasn't the reason that Kyrie and Kevin Durant said they went to the Nets, it was because of the culture? They went there because of the culture.
Bro.
That is what they said. That is what they said.
That's why they said they chose the Nets over the Knicks, because of the culture. They like what Kenny Atkinson did with the young guys, how he developed the talent, and they felt that this was a win-now situation. So I'm confused about all of a sudden Kenny Atkinson can't coach.
Well, see, my question is not whether or not he can coach stars. It's looking at whether or not stars want to play for him.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm asking that is because it seems like the way he does things is very, very system oriented. From your off-season duties to your in-season duties, everything is scheduled, is regimented, and that was kind of the reason that Kyrie Irving was like, he wants to do his own thing. If you go back and you listen to some interviews way in the beginning of the season from Kenny Atkinson, you know, you could hear it a little bit talking about, we got some players doing some different things than we did last year and stuff like that, and so that's all my question is. When you do end up bringing in a star, now, if he develops the star, I think that's something totally different. But if you do bring in a star, and it seems like to me the Knicks are going to look to try to bring somebody in at some point. If you do bring it in, are they going to be willing to be in his system? And I'm not just talking about on the court, but off the court as well, because I think that's important. And that was part of the reason that they took such a step, because everybody participated in this system that he put in place. So when it was time for these individual workouts, they did it, right? They had certain times that they had to be at the gym. Everybody had a schedule of when they had to be at the gym to do individual workouts with individual coaches and things like that. Before Kyrie got there, they did it. When Kyrie gets there, Kyrie don't want to do it. Right? Kyrie's on his own little thing.
They're spoiled.
Yo,
these superstars are spoiled, man.
Yeah. So that's where the question comes in. Right, that's where the question comes in for me is, will star players, your so-called star players, want to play for Kenny Atkinson because of that regimented type of system?
Well, I'm not quite sure if players want to play, because personally, a lot of these stars, they're spoiled. You understand what I'm saying? And I think that's what happened even with Julius Randle. He came to the Knicks and he thought he was going to be an all-star. And
nah, he didn't think that.
Nah, yes, he did. Look at old interview with
$63 million. That's
when he came, he said, "Oh, I want to make the all-star team."
That was one of his goals. That's what he said.
That's what he said. So that's why he plays selfishly like that. So I think, like, you know what I mean? A lot of these guys, they're spoiled. You know what I'm saying? That's why they don't want to play. They don't. Oh, I come here. They walk with their nose in the air like they're better than anybody. So they're listening to the coach. Yeah. Kenny Atkinson, he got those young guys. He had those young guys playing well because they was cast off some other team, and they knew like this is probably my last shot. So that's why they bought into him. You know what I'm saying? I think honestly, he come to the Knicks. Yeah. He's gonna have Knox. He's gonna have Knox playing good. He's gonna have Frank playing good. You know, if we Dotson is his own entity, but you know, because Dotson, you know, he's much older. But in terms of the younger guys, he's gonna have them playing much better due to this simple fact. He developed guys that got cut from other teams. They were damn near going to the D League. He took guys like that and made them something. You have to give him an account for that. He took guys that was D League players. Everybody used to joke on the Nets and call them a D League team. They used to call that team that. They used to call them a D League team. He took that team and developed it into a playoff team. You have to give him credit for that. Yeah, I don't know if Tom Thibodeau would have done something like that. Took a D League.
What are you talking about?
Now you got to say that though. Do you think Tom Thibodeau could have done? You have to say that he took that team. People called it a D League team. All those guys were D League players, D League alumni. And half the team was that. They was cast off from other teams.
Andrew.
You know what I'm saying? They was cast offs.
Tom Thibodeau never had his full roster ever.
Yeah, but think about the Eastern Conference. But listen, bro, the Eastern Conference was weak back then. What? It was weak. It was weak back then.
Oh, okay.
The Eastern Conference was weak back then. That's why Miami went to the play. They went to the finals every year. They was weak.
Yeah, and then he had Noah at the helm, and they won 52 games through Noah. Come on, are you kidding me?
The East was weak. It was weak that year, and with the Noah turnaround play after that, Noah became a bum at that. And first of all, Noah had skill already because Noah had passing ability, so he played Noah at the elbow. That's why Noah
thought that Noah could take.
And Noah, right? Noah has the same exact skill set as Al Horford. Just Al Horford's a better shooter than him.
He's a better offensive player. Noah was not an offensive player. So in that case, for a guy that only averaged damn near 12 points, 5 assists, and 10 rebounds, and have a team winning 52 games, that is unheard of. Seriously.
Yeah, but think about it. The reason why Noah was, think about it. It's top. You saying top 5
because
MVP?
Because Tom Thibodeau put him
top
in
5 MVP. A lot of people get top 5 MVP. A lot of people get that.
Not Noah.
Noah was a defensive player that could pass the ball. He just couldn't score. That's the problem. He just couldn't score.
All right, guys, let's talk about another coach. We'll get back. We can round back to it at the end if we want to revisit it. But let's get to another coach. Let's talk about Jeff Van Gundy. All right, let me read off some information about Jeff Van Gundy. Jeff Van Gundy's coached 18 seasons in the NBA. Now, obviously, he hasn't coached in a long time, but he's coached in the NBA in a while. 18 seasons in the NBA, 14 with the Knicks, 7 as an assistant coach with the Knicks, and then 7 as the head coach for the New York Knicks. He's been to 2 championship games with the New York Knicks, 1 as an assistant, of course, 1 as the head coach. All right. He's coached for the Houston Rockets as the head coach for 4 seasons. He's got a career coaching record of 430 wins and 318 losses. Do you guys look at Jeff Van Gundy as a legitimate option for the Knicks?
Me personally?
I'll start with you, Andrew. Go ahead.
I say yes. I say yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll give it to Jeff Van Gundy. He has IQ. He understands the game. You understand what I'm saying? Like Jeff Van Gundy, if you look at him, now offensively, he's not the best, you know what I'm saying, offensively. A lot of that was his brother Stan. It really depends who he brings like as his assistant coaches. He probably would keep Mike Miller with him because Mike Miller has a familiarity with the younger guys. But defensively, he would have those guys playing. You know what I'm saying? Jeff Van Gundy always been a good defensive coach. Offensively, I don't know what is he going to run. And yeah, I definitely see it because he definitely was a good coach for years. Think about it, man. He took a Knicks team that was the number 8 seed team, and he took them to the finals. So I definitely would give Jeff another chance. You know what I mean?
And you can't say that the game's passed him by because he's still coaching the national team. He's getting them to play at a high level. They won the gold medal at the FIBA AmeriCup in 2017. He has the youngsters in competition. He can still coach.
Can I say something?
Yep. Go ahead, Isaiah.
For Jeff, I'm gonna say no.
Why is that?
I'm gonna say no. You know what, man? I just think nostalgia. I'm fine with that.
Why though? What is it about Jeff Van Gundy? What is it about Jeff Van Gundy that that makes you say no?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, we could talk about the Olympics, but he's getting the best young talent. Okay, yeah. I guess I don't have to talk then. But I just personally think with Jeff, I mean, we haven't seen him coach in a very long time. Again, the U.S. basketball, that's something. But to me, he's coaching the young 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds. He's coaching them. I don't know, man. We just haven't seen him in that capacity to coach 82 games. He's coaching Olympic games, but he hasn't coached 82 games in a very long time. Again, to me, what happened?
Go ahead. They can't hear them guys. You're talking to me.
I don't know if he can coach the 82 games now, and I don't know if when it comes to Jeff, it just hold on a second. So I got to mute. I just don't see him coaching the 82 games. I think he's got himself into a comfortable role in his life where it's not stressful no more. He just he coaches occasionally the U.S. Olympic team, and he's on TV. He's sitting on the broadcaster side. I don't know, Sam. I just don't know if I don't know if his heart's in it to do 82 games.
Okay.
I don't know if his heart's in it to do it.
Do me a favor. Can you adjust the camera so your face is in the camera? Because right now we're just looking at your mouth. Yeah, that's better.
Can you see me now?
Yeah, much better.
I'm sorry, fellas.
Yeah. Y'all gotta watch that. Y'all gotta pay attention to that. Look at yourself on the screen so you see what you look like.
I can see my whole face though. That's the thing. I can see my whole face.
So, you gotta be able to see that. But
I ain't want to do the LL Cool J on y'all, but there's not a lot of ladies in here. It's mostly guys, so
Yeah, we don't want you to do the LL Cool J on us. We don't want to see that.
Sam, it's just again, I just don't think his heart and his mental is in there for 82 games. Like I said, he was listen. I think he was with the Knicks at the right time for him to be with the Knicks. And I know I was young when this happened, but I know a lot of things didn't end the way he wanted it to end with the Knicks. With the whole. So I know we all know what happened with him at the end of the Knicks. I just don't. I don't know. I just rather have Kenny Atkinson. Have the guy that's been doing it this past century. This past decade. And he just has the track record to do it right now. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and I love Jeff Van Gundy. Right, I'm not sure about him. It's one thing I think to coach the Olympics, with a bunch of stars that are going to, listen, they understand the game. They know how to play the game. You're going to do some coaching, but you don't have to do that much coaching. I just wonder, can he handle the way that these players are today? Can he handle it? Will he be able to coach the way that he coaches with these guys today? And can he handle the attitudes that you get and all that kind of stuff? That's my question about Jeff Van Gundy. I don't know. I don't know. Big Freezy, what do you think, man? What do you think about Jeff Van Gundy, Freezy?
No, I'm a no on Van Gundy. I'm a no on Van Gundy, and the reason why is because he quit his last two jobs mid-season. So he quit 19 games in the last time he was the Knicks coach, and he quit, I think, 20 games in with the Houston Rockets because he said he had burnout and his focus wasn't there. Now, if we give him a big task like this, trying to develop youngsters and stuff, if he quit on us, that might set us back because we won't have the coach that, a star coach in place, and then now you're replacing the coach mid-season, just like you did before.
Point taken.
Just like what we did Fizdale, you know what I'm saying?
Definitely. I definitely understand what you're saying.
So why not just go get the guy you know is going to be in it for the long haul, who has a vested interest of coaching the long, a long term that's going to be there for the long game, as opposed to a guy you might get something out of him for a little while, but you don't know. He's basically a flight risk if you hire him.
Yeah, that might be a point with Van Gundy. That might be a point. Ty, what do you have to say to that? I mean, what do you have to say to that, Ty?
Be perfectly honest. I can't argue with Freezy's logic. I mean, I'm a Van Gundy fan, always have been. I think after his time spent broadcasting, I think he has enough handle on the game and on life that he wouldn't be spending 23 hours a day on the couch at the Garden anymore. I think he'll be off doing other things. But Freezy's point about burnout, this is going to be a major reclamation project. And honestly, you want a coach that you have the confidence is going to come in and grab the bull by the horns and stay the course and see the whole process through. And like I said, Freezy, I didn't even consider the fact that Van Gundy did walk away from his last 2 gigs, and we don't need anybody bailing on us on this project.
Yeah, that's the truth. We definitely don't need somebody bailing on us, man. I mean, that'll just throw a whole bunch of garbage out there. You know what I'm saying?
Huge monkey wrench.
Yeah, we just don't need it. We just don't need it at all. You know what I mean? Now, I tend to agree with the both of you. I like Jeff Van Gundy. I do. A lot of history with the Knicks. Isaiah said it, a lot of nostalgia and all of that, but he probably isn't the guy for this job because, clearly Jeff Van Gundy gets anxious and, needs to, needs a break. I mean, and we don't need that.
Right.
Yeah, we don't need that. All right, well, let's go. Let's talk about the next guy that we got on the list. Right, and this is a young guy, ladies and gentlemen. Jerry Stackhouse. And I know he doesn't have a lot of NBA coaching experience, but I do think that Jerry Stackhouse one day is going to be a good NBA coach. Now, currently, he's the head coach of Vanderbilt, and I think he signed a 6-year deal in 2019 with Vanderbilt, but that doesn't mean anything. I believe most of those college contracts have an out clause, right? So that you can get out of that contract if you decide to go to the NBA. In 18-19, he was an assistant with the Memphis Grizzlies. 2016 to 18, he was the head coach of the Raptors 905, the G League team. I think in 2016-17 or 17-18, actually, he won Coach of the Year. In 17-18. And then in 15-16, he was the assistant coach an assistant for the Toronto Raptors. I think Jerry Stackhouse is going to be a good coach. And maybe, at this time, he feels and people feel that he's got to, fight his way up through the coaching ranks and, getting his job at Vanderbilt. If he can turn them around, then maybe, people give him a closer look. The only thing with Jerry Stackhouse for me is that Leon Rose has limited experience in the front office. Not sure if I want a coach that has limited experience on the bench. Freezy, what's your take on it?
So I like Jerry Stackhouse. I don't know if he's ready to become a rookie head coach.
Gee, what's good, Buck?
In a city like New York. But he did coach one of the best shooters in the country. And the Neesmith kid who's coming out in the draft. And right now, one of our deficiencies is outside shooting. Consistent outside scoring. So it's one of those deals, man, where you look at Stackhouse where you have a guy with high upside at coach, but do you want to break him in New York? I don't necessarily think the time is right for him. with a rookie team president, with an over anxious owner, with a GM that's got 1 year left on his contract, with a roster that's really, really young. I don't know if the time is right for Stackhouse, though he did do an impressive job with Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think he's a good coach. He's got a bright future. And the thing about it is, I feel like he brings a lot of the ingredients that we want. And he's young. How old is Stackhouse?
Right.
How old is Jerry Stackhouse?
Man.
48?
Maybe
something
45,
like that?
45, something like that. Something. Yeah.
Let's see. I'm looking it up right now. He's not that old. Now, Kenny Atkinson isn't as old. Jerry Stackhouse is 45. All right, young guy. People always talk about having someone who can relate to the young guys and all that kind of stuff. And I get it, right? Fizdale was supposed to be that type of guy. Can relate to the young guys and this, and that, and the other thing. I think Jerry Stackhouse is the kind of guy who can relate to the young guys, but also has some of that old school mentality that played in the era of, some of your, he came off of it like the end of that old school mentality type of game. You know what I'm saying? So he has it. He's kind of like that bridge. He's like that middle child. Right. You know what I'm saying? That maybe can satisfy the best of both worlds. I think that's what they were looking for in Fizdale. I just think that Stackhouse brings a better coaching mentality. I watched some of those Toronto 905 games, and I liked the way that they played. They played hard. They played defense. Listen, for a coach to win in the G League is hard because you always got players coming and going, in and out, coming and going. So it's tough to put together some kind of put together something in the G League, I think, and to win in the G League. So I think that he's an impressive young guy that has a chance to be a good coach in the NBA. But
hey, you know what though, son?
Yeah.
You know what though? So Nick Nurse, the current Toronto Raptors coach, has just about the same pedigree, the same resume as Jerry Stackhouse. So I mean, the Raptors were a lot closer to winning the championship than we are right now to winning the championship. But I'll tell you this though: if we go by just off of what you said, man, you almost swayed me. Like maybe he is the guy, because if Nick Nurse can do it as a rookie head coach, why not Stackhouse? I mean, they have just about the same pedigree, except I feel Stackhouse probably has more upside because he was a high-level NBA player, and he also has that that experience of coaching young kids, like at Vanderbilt.
Yeah. Right.
So why not?
And I see people in the chat saying that Mike Miller won in the G League too, but I'm not discounting Mike Miller. We're just not covering him tonight. We covered him in the last coaching candidates. We covered Mike Miller. I'm not discounting Mike Miller at all. The thing that Jerry Stackhouse brings though is that being that middle child type of person that can relate to both sides. I think. Ralph Petito said he is my pick, and I believe it is okay to have a new GM and a new coach. What'd you say? What'd you say, Freezy?
I don't know, man.
I think Freezy
Stackhouse was. I think he was a top 5 pick, top 6 pick in the NBA draft.
Something like that. He was something like that. Let me get to a phone call. Caller, you on live with Nothing But Knicks. What's popping?
What's popping, Sam? How is it going?
I'm good, brother. How you feeling?
I'm doing great. I'm a huge fan of your show, man. I'm from the city of Detroit, and I'm a Detroit Pistons fan. But I'm also a Knicks fan, and I'm a huge fan of your show. So thanks for doing it.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you. We're just trying to continuously grow and get better. Listen, I'm looking at my video now, and as I'm talking to people, I'm like, man, I got to fix this. I got to fix that. So a lot of things I know, but we're continuously trying to grow and get better. Like one of the things I don't know if you guys even look at the video like that, but for some reason, my voice isn't always matching up with the video. I don't know why or what's going on. I've been trying to fix it for weeks and weeks and weeks and trying to get it right. I know there's some settings or whatever, but I appreciate it though. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Just want to comment about the Knicks coaching candidates. So I think, in my opinion, the Knicks would be really great. Start with Jerry Stackhouse. Speaking of this, because I'm a Detroit Piston fan, and I know Jerry Stackhouse. He was an ex-Piston player. This guy has a great professionalism. He built the Toronto Raptors G League team. He took them to the championship, and he did really good. I think he's a rising coach, and I think he'll do great with a young team like the New York Knicks. There'll be a nice start for him, too, as a professional career in the NBA. My first choice, if you ask me, even though I'm a Detroit Piston fan, for the Knicks, I'd probably go with Kenny Atkinson. Mm-hmm. But Jerry Stackhouse would be a great fit for the organization, I think. He will bring not only the professionalism and his coaching basketball career, also he'll bring the deep Detroit Pistons defense team. I could tell you this. This guy is well built from the bad boy era. So he knows how to play basketball as a coach and as a player, and I think he'll do excellent for the young Knicks team.
Do you think that? Do you think he'd leave Vanderbilt?
I believe so. Yes, I think if he's getting an opportunity in the NBA, he'll definitely consider a start. So yeah, it's he's waiting for it. We actually, I could tell you that a couple of years ago, we fired Stan Van Gundy from the Detroit Pistons, and we were desperately looking for a coach. And we were actually lucky by getting Coach Dwayne Casey from the Toronto Raptors. But I can tell you for sure, I think number 2 or number 3 on our candidate list was Jerry Stackhouse. He went through the organization, and he made, I think, a couple of interviews. He was almost on the top of getting the job, but I guess we offered it to Dwayne Casey, which I'm really happy with, because Dwayne Casey was a good coaching candidate also for us. So, but I think Jerry Stackhouse will be a really good choice for the Knicks as, let's say, a second choice after Kenny Atkinson. I don't know, Kenny Atkinson might be a lot of people are after him. He's a really good coach too. So, but I think Jerry Stackhouse will be a great fit for your organization.
Yeah, well, we'll see what the Knicks do. We'll see if he even gets an interview. I know he's, I'll say this. When a player begins to coach in college, I think that they become committed, right? You start to develop these relationships with young players. And it's hard to just leave them. I think that's, that's one of the reasons why I think college coaches stay in college, right? Because it's just hard to leave these young guys. Once you develop those, you go out and you recruit them. You meet their families. You do the things that coaches in the NBA aren't really doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll give you another example. Do you know Coach Beeline, who coached the Cavs, and he was the Michigan Wolverines coach for how many years? He left his position just because of the position for the Cleveland Cavaliers. No, we also, the Detroit Pistons, also interviewed him, but we picked up Dwayne Casey because he was a higher coach than him. But I believe Coach Beeline is just an example, just like Jerry Stackhouse.
Right. I feel you. I get it. I know, man. We'll see what they're going to. We'll see if he even gets an interview, if they even think about him. At the very least, I think he should get at least an interview. He should be on their radar.
I'll be very happy for your team, for the Knicks, and also for Jerry Stackhouse, because I'm a Piston fan.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, hey, my man, I appreciate your call, bro.
Hey, I wonder if you can do some shows for the Detroit Pistons. We would love you.
I mean, we have to get somebody who's a Pistons fans, man, huh? Why don't you do a show? Why don't you do a show for the Pistons?
I am already on the Piston committee, but hey, we like your attitude and your presentation. It's very professional. So keep it going, man. We love your show.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet. Have a good day.
All right. Get to another phone call here. Caller, you're on live with Nothing But Knicks. What's popping?
How you doing, partner?
I'm good,
Hey,
man.
listen, you guys are talking right now about, first of all, you got a great show. I've been watching for a minute. You guys are talking about Jerry Stackhouse right now, correct?
Yes.
Yes. That's the guy, get a coaching job, period. I don't know if it'll be the Knicks, but Jerry Stackhouse, I heard you say a little while ago that he's kind of young. Jerry Stackhouse is an old soul. That guy, he's going to come to a team. And, you know, when you look at guys, when I say old soul, when you remember guys like Riley or Pop, you know, those guys, they demand what they want. Jerry Stackhouse is like a gangster on the sidelines. He played like one. He's demanding. He's a good guy as far as on the bench. He come from school of, like we used to say back in the day, from Hard Knocks. He, wherever he stopped at, he actually learning and he's doing the right thing. If you can get him, I don't care where you can go. I mean, I don't care. Whoever gives him an interview, he's going to be on the money. I think he's going to probably end up in Philly. But anybody give that man a chance, I mean, just an interview, he's going to get the job, and he's online. He's a good guy. I mean, he took every step that he was supposed to take, and, like I said, he's been taught correctly. And, he's all right at Vanderbilt, but no, he's a pro, man. He's going to come in and he's not going to be like Fizdale or try to be people's friends or lie to the public and say, I'm going to bring this person, whatever. He'll sit down at the table. He's going to say, who I got? Okay, this is what we're going to do. And this is how we're going to roll. You guys want to be here? Cool. If not, you don't have to tell me about it. I'll go talk to who I got to talk to, get you out of the system. He's going to come to play. Or coach, I rather say. Man, this guy's, what he said, 45 years old, 40, sure, he's way past. He's the kind of guy that could have been in the league at the age of 35. He's on cue. He's on the money. And when he gets to the league, I don't know whether it will be the Knicks, most likely Philly. I'm sure Detroit may want him. But when he comes to the league, he's going to put his foot down, and people are going to say, why didn't we get him? That's just my feeling about it. And as far as Van Gundy, when you was back on Van Gundy, listen, the two stops Van Gundy was at, I don't mean to get on the guy about anything, but he don't know anything about the offensive end of the court, and he wants to call every offensive play. You don't believe me? Get Mark on, get Greg Anthony on, or whoever else was point guards at the Knicks, or what's the other spot he was at, the Rockets. That's the only thing that hurts him. He doesn't know anything about the offensive end of the court. Mm. Everything else he's cool with. And plus he's a great announcer, analyst, whatever he does now. He's great at that. But, he doesn't know anything about the offensive end of the court. That's just my opinion.
He's really good at being an announcer. That's without a doubt.
Very good.
And, I have questions about that as well. Looking at, because you look at the teams that he took over, they were ready-made teams. You know what I'm saying?
Very good. Very good.
And
you know what else? It's strange. People don't mention this guy's name a lot, but he's ready to go. If he's going to go, he's got to go either this year. He got to go this year. My man Jay Wright. I understand you're not talking about him right now, but my man Jay Wright, man, he's ready to coach in the league as well. So him and Stackhouse, they ready to go. They're ready to come.
Yeah, but do you think Jay Wright wants to coach? You think he wants to?
Right.
I know every time he's asked, he's like,
the right team didn't ask him. Listen, if check it out, if Philly came to him right now and gave him the kind of pull that he would need, he don't have to move, which I'm sure he'd probably relocate somewhere in Philly because of the kind of money they're going to give him, but he could take that spot over right there because they're going to make a couple of adjustments in Philly. Most likely, what's the big guy name? Abib? That's his name, right? The center?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I hate to say it in this manner because I know what's going to happen more or less. he's going to probably be a Knick. Or with the guy we got running the team now, he's going to probably be a Knick. If Rose, just in my opinion, if Rose can pull it off, he will have your man CP3 and him on the team sometime within the next year. He'll try to. That's what he's pulling for, because I think he used to represent them or whatever he did with them, and I hope he doesn't do that because he think of make a big splash, but they couldn't stay healthy. I mean, Paul, I want Paul, but the other guy, no, he breaks down too much.
All right, so let me ask you before I let you go, if the Knicks did end up getting Joel Embiid and Chris Paul, who's the best coach for them?
Well, I tell you who's not the best coach for him. It's Thibodeau. He wouldn't be the best coach for him because Embiid, he breaks down all the time, and you know how he pushes players. So Embiid wouldn't be. But for Paul, believe it or not, you can either stay with Miller or the guy from you could either go with Miller or you go with we just mentioned his name. What's his name? The guy we just was talking about, the guy coaching at Vanderbilt.
Jerry Stackhouse.
Yeah, Stackhouse, Miller, Jay Wright. I would even say Mark Jackson. Just about anybody, for Paul. Now, Embiid, no, I wouldn't mess with Embiid because Embiid's a great ball player when he's playing. You know who Embiid reminds you of? He reminds you of the guy over in Brooklyn. What's his name? Kyrie Irving. That's his name, Kyrie.
Uh-huh.
They break down too much. What sense to have them? When they play, but they're gonna miss 20 to 30 games a year, 25 to 30 games a year. So what sense to get them for?
Well, that's the truth. They both going to miss a lot of games every year, man. Hey, I appreciate the call, bro.
Hey, man, remember me now. I'm Dale from Queens, all right? So I'll be calling you much as I can, man, because your show is on the money.
Man. Definitely.
Okay,
appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
All right, peace now.
All right, man. Get to a couple more phone calls here, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead and give me a call, 516-405-2246. I want to get your perspective and hear what you think about it. In the meantime, I'm going to come to my man Guillermo. I see Guillermo's joined us in the chat. I'm going to come to Guillermo and get his perspective on the coaches that we've covered so far. Guillermo, what's going on, man?
Yo, hold on, Mark. Yo, what's good, Sam?
What's good, man? So we've been talking about three coaches. We talked about Kenny Atkinson. I know who you like. We talked about Kenny Atkinson, Jeff Van Gundy, and Jerry Stackhouse. Talk to me about all of those guys. Talk to me about Kenny Atkinson first, because that's your guy.
Wait, hold on. Jeff Van Gundy's in the running?
I mean, his name is always out there whenever the Knicks head coaching job comes up. But talk to me about Kenny Atkinson last.
Okay, I mean, Jerry Stackhouse, I've heard good things about him, especially in the G League. The dude obviously has had a pretty good career in the NBA. I mean, he understands plays. The only thing is that I'm scared more about how the organization is going to view him because they may not give him the leeway, right? To work out certain kinks and things like that, right? I don't know. You guys could tell me. I don't know what his game style is. I don't know what systems he runs. Who he prefers to work the ball through. Does he work it through the front court? Does he work it through guards?
I'm gonna say this. For the years that he's coached in the NBA, he always had a big, powerful center. Patrick Ewing, Yao Ming.
Oh, wait, hold up. Are you talking about Jerry Stackhouse or?
Oh, who? Oh, I'm sorry. Did you say Jeff Van Gundy? Oh, you said Jerry Stackhouse. My bad. Well, yeah, I was. You know what? For some reason, I heard Jeff Van Gundy. I don't even know why. But as far as Jay Stackhouse, I think he is a wing-oriented guy. Defense first, though. I watched just a few games of the Raptors 905, and they were a very hard-nosed defensive team that played. They played very hard, and they were wing-oriented. I think that's his style of play on the offensive side of the ball.
When it comes to the defense, and I mean, I wish I could find some of these games to watch. Actually, No, I can only watch Knicks. I wish I could find some games to watch because, even with the defense, right? Is it that he likes to play the passing lanes? Does he like to double team guys? Does he like to play them straight up? Does he like to switch a lot? Even defensively, because I mean, times have kind of changed, right? It's like you can't really keep the, back in the day when he played, it was like you got to beat your man and then you got to beat the front court guy that stayed in the lane. And the G League, one thing about the G League, especially with coaches, is that you almost can overcoach sometimes in a G League. Like that doesn't make sense. Like you could be almost overly successful, if that makes any sense, where really good talent may fall to you. And because you're a good coach, whatever you do, it might emphasize these guys to the point where it's like, damn, he's really doing well. And then the parity sits back in once you hit the NBA levels, right? And it's like, okay, some of the stuff you did in the G League is just not as effective in whatever NBA team. And the thing I'm scared about, I don't mind a coach coming in and be able to work the kinks as long as they're a real coach, Fizdale. But if the guy comes in, I don't want guys like Leon Rose. I don't want, Dolan to come in and literally take the leash off this guy. If you have a team that's like trying to slowly build, say in the first 2-3 years, we have a team that's slowly building to 40. You know what I mean? And he gets rid of the guy despite there being some development because he wants to bring in some other big coach that may have gotten fired from another team or something like that. That's what I'm more scared of. So I got to do my homework more on Jerry Stackhouse. But my guy is Van Gundy is scary because I don't want us to fall into I don't say it's a John Gruden thing because the Raiders are kind of like in a weird flux where they could be really decent next year or they could be crap. And the thing about getting these coaches who've been on the sideline for so long, right? They start to believe their own BS, right? And I mean in a good way, where they start to hear the echoes in their head, and they almost think they're godlike in terms of their review of things. And look, Van Gundy, when I've heard him on a lot of the games and stuff, I still think he's a great basketball mind. But it's like there's a difference between being a basketball mind who could just basically talk it versus you going back and doing it at a high level again. Obviously, when he was in the NBA, the defenses were, scoring was at you had to try to get it, man. It was at a discount. Like defenses were early mid 2000s. Defenses were still extremely tough. You had, like you said, you always had a big man. Your front courts were still following the model from the 90s where it's strong. You got to go through 2 levels of defense. It was an ugly drag 'em out game, right? And I'm just not sure. I don't see anything that says, all right, he's adjusted and this is how he'll coach in the new NBA. And he doesn't have a Pat Riley. He doesn't have a GM who used to play who would kind of guide him and like give him the new blueprint. And then he implements his own style and strategies and you get something that's cohesive. The Knicks don't have that. So to me, the best option, like I've always been saying, is Kenny Atkinson. You know what he's going to do? He's going to run the pick and roll. One thing Kenny Atkinson is going to do, because the Knicks are almost like a small market team. We have the money, but no one's coming here until we start winning, right?
Right.
And we a coach who's going to get players to overachieve in whatever roles they play. He's going to get the guards who's going to be able to shoot or going to shoot and space out because he loves to run the high pick and roll. He's going to get, Mitch Robinson's going to be effective in that high pick and roll. And hopefully he's going to learn how to shoot, even though I don't think Jared Allen, that wasn't really his game with the Nets. But this is the same as Kenny Atkinson, who said, hey, there's I don't know, he's probably saying this to save face with Katie and Kyrie. But he did say, there were certain things there's some mistakes I made in coach, blah, blah. If those mistakes were, hey, we didn't get the big man to be able to space out, that'd be perfect for him. You know what I mean? But I like what we did with the point guard. One thing I like about Atkinson is that and this is what we talk about with Fizdale, you give a blueprint, you have these guys follow a certain blueprint, and you have it where your key impact players, at the very least, can get opportunities to make easy baskets or relatively easy baskets. That high pick and roll creates spaces for point guards who may not be the quickest. And obviously, they had D'Angelo Russell, but we have guys like Frank. We have guys like DSJ. Just saying the guys we have now on the roster. We have to get high efficiency or high probability shots for our guys, where we're not trying to have them go ISO like Fizdale did, where they think that it's Rod Strickland at point guard and he could beat everybody to the basket and pass out to the perimeter at the end. We need to get a system guy who come here, has a proven system, get shooters here because we need shooting, we need spacing, get proper passing, proper facilitation for the pick and roll, and get our big man active. And I mean, I don't remember what the defenses were with the Nets, but Jared Allen, I mean, he was basically a poor man's Mitch, if that makes sense. I still think Mitch was a better defensive player than Jared Allen, but Jared Allen was a high-impact defensive player for our team. So if you can get us a buy-in to a defensive system plus work that high pick and roll and get our team proper high percentage open shots, I'm all for that, man.
Yeah. Listen, just speaking about Kenny Atkinson, I just love, and this is probably the third time I've said it in this stream, I love the things that he did outside of on the court. Having everybody set up for individual workouts, individual sessions, and it didn't just have to be basketball workouts. They had people, an individual meeting time with a coach. Developing those relationships while developing your skill. Individual, time to work on your bumps and bruises. I can't think of the word right now. Individual time set up for that. And I'm sure other teams do those same things, but there's even more. It goes in more depth, on how the developmental system ran and with, the use of the technology and just a lot of things that they did that a lot of, there's teams that don't do it, but it's something that I think this Knicks team really, really does need. I'm saying really, really does need. That's why I'm so big on Kenny Atkinson. I'm saying? Obviously, he did it on the floor with the players, but I think he can bring that college-style developmental system to this team, and I think it'll be really, really effective.
He was also a big chemistry guy because that team before last year, when they had D'Angelo Russell, I'm not a Nets fan, but they probably had some of the best team chemistry I saw. Like whenever you saw D'Angelo Russell go off for 40, it didn't feel selfish. It didn't feel like people were looking at him like, yo, he's not passing the ball, man, blah, blah. It was like, no, he scored a 40, but it was almost like you saw him make big shots, and he was kind of put in a position to do that. And then when Joe Harris was given an opportunity, Joe Harris would kill you from deep. And then when LeVert, when he was healthy, he would kill you. You know what I mean? And then Dinwiddie came in. I mean, you're talking about a guy who literally was, I think he was undrafted, came from, what was the Blazers, wherever team he came from. You're talking about putting your faith in a kid who literally other people they will scratch their head and be like, Dinwiddie? I mean, even his name just feels like this is not an NBA player. You know what I mean? It's like a joke player on 2K.
No,
and the thing about Dinwiddie came in and became one of the best scorers off the pick and roll. And no one felt like, yo, everyone before Kyrie and KD came in, it felt like, yo, we have something brewing here. It felt like, yo, Dinwiddie's going to be that guy. We got D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Russell's talking about, yo, when they were talking about the trade room, he's like, I do not want to leave Brooklyn. Like, I love this place. You know what I mean? And he was acting right. He wasn't, exposing anybody on Instagram and taking pictures of them and talking about, yo, yeah, he was with this this chick and blah, blah. The chemistry the Knicks have relative to what the Nets had that one year, we have zero chemistry, bro. We've talked about this. I know you're not of the whole school idea that Randall, blah, blah, but I am. And it did not look good on the court. You know what I mean? I would love to have that chemistry that those Nets players had that one year, where it's selfless play, it's a lot of unselfishness. Guys are moving the ball around. If RJ has a night where he's going off for 40, they keep and he has 28 in the first half. They keep feeding him the ball to be like, yo, RJ, you're gonna put up 50 tonight. And it's like, yo, we want RJ to feature. Or they have a game where Mitchell Robinson's scared and they trying to get him to shoot. Yo, Mitch, you're gonna shoot three shots tonight. I don't give a F if it hits off the backboard. I don't care if it hits somebody in Yugoslavia. We're going to rebound the ball for you, but we need you to be a part of the system, but we need you to expand your game. We need someone to kind of push that chemistry to make everybody want to play for each other versus I'm playing for my individual stats in my contract, which I think a lot of guys are doing this year. So.
If the Knicks do get Chris Paul, which honestly is probably a possibility, I'm pretty sure the conversation is in the air somewhere in Knick land and in Oklahoma, right? If the Knicks end up getting Chris Paul, I think him and Kenny Atkinson would do well together.
Be perfect.
What's your thoughts?
Be perfect. You're talking about the drill sergeant and the general. You know what I mean? Like they both are of the same mindset. I mean, I'm not saying that. Well, Chris Paul, he does use pick and roll, but you're talking about guys going to get up there in age. He's going to love that. He's gonna respect that system where the ball's moving around off the pick and roll because Chris Paul, he loves motion. He likes guys moving around. He likes movement where the defense is one slip about a defense, he makes that one cut pass or he makes a pass out to perimeter. You make one false step, and he's making the right pass to the right guy at the right time. And Kenny Atkinson is going to want that. And also, Kenny Atkinson is going to have a guy who he, again, like I said, especially now where the coaches are so devalued in the NBA, basically these players have to basically become fathers to some of these kids, man. So it's like you have a guy in Chris Paul who's basically the coach on the court. I think he's gonna love it. Chris Paul likes structure in terms of he likes the game to be played. So he's not a guy who's gonna come and just shoot, 33s a night and then, do all this James Harden stuff. Like, obviously, if he's hot, he's gonna do it, right? You've seen it. But Chris Paul's a selfless player. His assists are almost like Harden's threes. Like, that's how he feels about his assists. Like, he cherishes moving the ball around, getting easy buckets for his players. So I think it'd be perfect. And if he knows that he's on the tail end of his career. He comes and he knows he's trying to build something for New York. If you gave him a situation, you put him in Atkinson, and you give him guys like R.J. Barrett, Mitchell Robinson. Say you get another point guard here, you get a guy like LaMelo Ball, right? I think he's going to relish that teaching role. I think he's always going to relish the fact that, hey, they probably don't think I could do it. Let me come in here and try to get this team to sniff the 7 to 8 seed, and we make the playoffs. You know what I mean? He's that type of guy. Look what he did with the Hornets that one year. We only had David West and Tyson Chandler. I mean, they played the Spurs, but Chris Paul's playing his ass off. Excuse my language. I mean, so to me, I think he relishes that, that underdog is me against the world type of stuff. So that type of feeling. And Atkinson being a guy who's scarred about the Nets because of Katie and Kyrie and their Ebony and Ivory relationship. I feel like they both coming in with chips on their shoulders. Like, Chris Paul's never won anything. Atkinson got fired. He got, disrespected by the little brother of New York. So I think they're match made in heaven. That's how I feel.
Yeah. And Big Freezy just put out in the air that he could see a Mike D'Antoni and New York Knicks reunion.
No,
I don't see it at all. Big Freezy, I don't see it. I don't want to see it. I like Mike D'Antoni as his style of play. I don't see it. I don't want to see it. Let me ask you one.
He has no backbone. What backbone does he have? Look what put just 7 seconds or less thing. It's really turned into the Harden system because he has no say so over Daryl Morey and the owner because Harden is supposed to be the star. D'Antoni's not a guy who wants a bunch of over dribbling and all that stuff. He wants, again, a high pick and roll pass out to perimeter. He's done that for every way he's gone. He's trying to implement that system, and he has no backbone. He doesn't teach defense. No. Yeah.
I'm not definitely don't want to see that. Last thing before I let you go, are the Knicks going to hire a head coach before the draft, or are they going to draft somebody then hire a head coach? What do you think?
I think they're gonna hire a head coach first because that'll be the dumbest thing to hire a player, bring in a coach, and he's like, "Well, this is not the guy I would have preferred." Right? Then now you have a situation where it's the player who might have more of a say, more of the ear of the owner if he's good, but he may not be playing to the style of the coach, and the style of the coach suggests might be a little more effective in getting wins. Right? It's like the RG3, Mike Shanahan. Dan Snyder thing, right? Where it's like you have this kid who comes in, he wins that one game in the playoffs, or he wins, whatever in the playoffs, gets hurt, and then he's basically the coach is like, all right, we're trying to make you this type of quarterback, not trying to force you to be a traditional quarterback. He's like, screw you, I have the ear of Dan Snyder, and Dan Snyder's like, all right, do whatever you want, and everything fell apart. So obviously hire the coach first and foremost, because you have to, like Parcells said, man, you can't hire the cook and not allow him to get, buy the ingredients from the store, whatever he said with the Patriots.
Exactly.
You know so.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that's what they do. You never know, with the way. The
Knicks are probably not going to do that. So I don't even know why you even asked me a question. The Knicks are going to.
You never know, but I mean, hopefully they do. Who knows when the season is even, things even going to be back in action. But I don't know, man. Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. I'm about to head up out of here. And to answer your question, Big Freezy, I know you were asking about the Front Stoop, the next episode of the Front Stoop. I was going to do it tonight. I don't think I'm going to be able to get to it tonight. I'm going to do it tomorrow night. I just wasn't able to prepare tonight because I had a bunch of other things that I had to do during the day. A bunch of meetings with clients and stuff like that. So I will be doing a Front Stoop episode tomorrow. I'll be on almost all day tomorrow. I'm doing an episode at 2:30 tomorrow, just a call-in episode to talk about anything that has to do with the Knicks. And then we'll be doing some draft prospects later on in the night. And then after we do draft prospects, I'm going to do an episode of the Front Stoop. And then, of course, Friday, we'll do the Front Stoop once again. All right, so that's when I'll be back on the Front Stoop, ladies and gentlemen. And, I may have a couple videos here and there drop. But Mighty Knicks, what's going on with you? Thank you for the super chat, my man. He said, I miss my Knicks family. Well, we're glad you're back here, bro. We're glad you're back here. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to head out. I thank you guys for taking the time to be here with me. All right. It's, it's typically early, but, I got some things that I really got to try to get done. So I apologize. It's another call coming in. I'll take a couple of calls and then I'll get up out of here. All right. Caller, you're on live with Nothing But Knicks. What's popping?
Oh, hello. Good evening.
What's going on, brother? How you feeling?
Yeah, good. I was the caller from last time, and I was going to call back for Kenny Atkinson.
All right.
To talk about the coach. He is the candidate for the job. He is the right choice because, like I said before, he's very analytical. He loves his players to shoot the three-pointers, have multiple ball handlers on the court and stuff like that. So Kenny Atkinson is the choice. I like Jerry Stackhouse too, but he might be good for a small market team, not like the Knicks right now, because we all know the Knicks are dysfunctional at this point, so they need structure. And Kenny Atkinson already proved that he could develop a team. Like, people keep forgetting that the Nets didn't have no lottery picks. They had nothing. That Celtics trade stripped them of everything. So they found LeVert, Dinwiddie, they found Harris, they found Allen. They had the draft, and they had to get guys from the waivers. So he developed those guys. People shouldn't just look at the record because he didn't have no lottery picks. He didn't have a Jason Tatum. He didn't have a Luka Doncic. So he had to develop them from the ground up. So Kenny Atkinson is the perfect candidate for the team. There's no other candidate right now. That was like God sending them a sign. Just hire Kenny Atkinson. You bring him in. If you could get LaMelo Ball or Killian Hayes and then trade Randall and get Christian Wood in the free agency, he has his little core right there. In 2 to 3 years, everybody's going to be talking about the Knicks. Everybody. I'm telling you. They hire Kenny Atkinson and they get rid of these guys that they signed last year in free agency, and they build around R.J. Knox, Mitch, Frank, and get some other guys in free agency, some young players. With Atkinson, they're going to take off. I'm telling you, in 2 to 3 years, they'll probably make the playoffs. Everybody keeps thinking it's a long rebuild. No, it's not. I'm telling you, Kenny Atkinson with his people and those players that the Knicks got, because the Knicks got some young players, though. Knox got potential. Frank still got potential. They all young. So you just give them Kenny Atkinson, they're going to take off in 2 to 3 years. So Kenny Atkinson is the perfect candidate. Not Van Gundy, not Tom Thibodeau, none of those old heads. They need a young coach that the young players could relate to and build around. I agree with you what you were saying with Kenny Atkinson. He holds people accountable. That's why Kyrie Irving didn't like him. Kevin Durant didn't have a problem with Atkinson. It's Kyrie because he holds people accountable. He has them work, he has them on a practice regimen off the court. Every day they got to work on their three-pointers, their ball handling and stuff like that. So he holds people accountable. That's why Kyrie didn't like that. But still, for these young players that the Knicks have, he's great for them because he could relate to them, and he already proven that he could develop multiple guys. LeVert and Dinwiddie, all those guys is all-star caliber players. You never know. Knox and Barrett and LaMelo or Hayes or whoever they get in the draft, they could become all-stars under Atkinson. I'm telling you, I'm a Nets fan. I know Atkinson is the perfect candidate. Nobody else right now. I don't want to hear about no other coach. Atkinson is the guy. I'm telling you. 2 to 3 years, the Knicks will be the talk of the NBA. I promise you. If they get Atkinson, I'm telling you.
I'm with you, man.
I just wanted to educate the Knicks fans, man. These Knicks fans think it's going to take 5 years. It only take 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years.
Yo, I hear you, man. I'm with you 100% on Atkinson. That is my guy as well. I would love to see him come to New York or come to the Knicks. He's been in New York, come to the Knicks and do the same thing he did with the Nets, man. Same thing.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, I appreciate the call, bro.
Oh, thank you, man. Have a good night.
You too, man. Have a good one.
All right.
Later. And I want to give a couple shout outs to some people out there. A big shout out to Ishmael Rivas, who just became a member, a 90s Knicks member. And I will have tomorrow night's stream, I will have up the other video so you guys can check them guys out in the chat. I'll definitely have it up. So I'll make sure that's up for you. Only members can access it, but it'll be there for you. Mighty Knicks, I shouted out Mighty Knicks already. I'll shout you out again. I appreciate you. Donald Cannon, thank you for the super chat. He beat Mighty Knicks by $1, said I had to beat Mighty. So I thank you and appreciate it, man. And then Guard Up Nick said, much love and respect to Salmon and Nothing But Nick's crew. I appreciate you, my man. Thank you for the super chat. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to head up out of here. Thank you for being here. Be peaceful tonight. Relax. And I will talk to you tomorrow. Remember, I'm going to be on like 3 times tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. And it could be more than that. It could be more than that. I'm going to be on a bunch of times tomorrow. So look for the notifications. Make sure you join me. All right. Be peaceful. Take it easy. And I'm up out of here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm out. Oh, if you haven't subscribed, just subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button for me. All right. Peace.